Now, what about this? Is Britain's transition to electric vehicles favouring the wealthy? There's a headline. As the percentage of those owning them increases in areas like Kensington and Chelsea, the numbers remain low in less well-off areas. Let's speak with Ginny Buckley, motoring journalist, founder of electrifying.com. That's a platform dedicated to making EVs accessible and understandable. Ginny, good to see you again. I mean, it's still... I appreciate you talk on this issue and know loads about it, but would you accept that it's still an area, the EV, where there is a sense of the unknown for quite a lot of drivers who've not made that crossover?
Absolutely, completely agree with that. And I think it's really important to say that what we try to do is not say everyone's got to switch to an EV right now, because it's quite clearly that we're not at that point yet. People are on a journey. Some will come to it sooner and some will come to it later. So we've just done some really interesting survey data actually between electrifying and the AA, and we talked to over 13,000 UK drivers. And there's quite an astonishing figure that, you know, you talk to people, 50% of those who don't drive an EV will say they don't feel confident at the prospect even of getting behind the wheel of one because it's new technology. So you can't underestimate what a really big change this is. And people do need help and support and education. You know, we know that once you get into an EV, generally people love it. The numbers that go back are very small, but it's a journey, and it's a journey that not everyone is ready to take at the same time.
I mean, a couple of points. I made this to another motoring journalist the other day. One of the issues in terms of the transition is that if you show me a Volvo XC90 and say, there it is, a diesel car, or petrol or diesel, whatever, and you say it's got 80,000 miles on the clock, it's 10 years old, I can do the maths on that really quickly. Right, it's a Volvo, so it's a high-end car, very reliable, 80,000 miles to 10 years, you know, that's, wow, that's good, you know, per year. And of course, an XC90 in good nick will go on for years, decades, on some occasions. If I look at an EV that might be 10 years old, I don't know, my brain doesn't know how to kind of do the equation. It's got a battery in it. Is it the battery? Is it like my mobile phone? My mobile phone that's 10 years old is knackered because of the battery. So it's that lack of information.
Yeah, it's such a good point that you make there, Ian. And again, you know, in this survey, we asked people those questions, and, you know, 2% said they had confidence in buying a used EV. This is from people that have got no experience of them. And again, it's because it's new technology. But the market now is advanced enough that we know that, you know, EVs now that may have... So recently, for example, we've had a Tesla in that's a former taxi. It's done 250,000 miles. It's got 91% of its battery left. Now that is still going to give you a huge amount, you know, hundreds of, you know, 250 miles of range on a fully charged battery. And as this technology progresses, the batteries are lasting longer, they're keeping their range longer, but you can still now pick up really good second-hand electric cars. You know, you can get them now for sort of £8,000, £9,000, £10,000 that have a decent amount of range on them. So I think it's right that people have concerns and worries about that. That's completely understandable. The reality is, and we're seeing this data coming through now, is the battery and motors in an EV will outlast an engine. And it's really interesting because at the end of that life, so an engine ultimately ends up on the scrap heap eventually, but because they're so valuable, they are stripped down afterwards, the components are taken out, the battery cells, there's recycling popping up amongst all the elements that go into them. They're incredibly valuable. So there's a really, in time, we will have this circular economy around them, but it's natural to have questions, right? It's new technology.
And do sellers have to declare battery life? I mean, you just gave the example of the Tesla, 91% after 200,000 miles, which is, you know, impressive. Because that would be a sort of redeeming factor in this for the cynics, if you could see that figure writ large on a poster somewhere.
100%. And actually there are in some vehicles, so in like even the early Nissan Leafs, you can go in and you can check how much battery life is there. We've actually been calling for the government to mandate on this because, again, going back to that survey, over 2/3 said they'd have so much more confidence in buying a used EV if it had what's called a battery health check. And this is a really simple piece of kit, and lots of really good used dealers now, used car dealers, should be doing this, and they can tell you what percentage of the life is left in that battery. Now, what we think should happen is that should become mandatory. So once you get to a vehicle over 3 years old and it's going in for its MOT, we think at that point there should be, if it's an EV, there should be just a battery health check update should be added. And I think that kind of legislation put in place, something that's automatically done, is where we're at, and you know what we need to give people confidence.
Indeed. We were talking about price and how it differs between wealthy areas and poorer areas. It's funny, I mentioned the XC90. Only last night I saw an ad on the TV for the Volvo XC90 electric. I remember reading about this about 2 years ago when they were talking about it. It looks like a very tasty bit of kit, but so is the price tag, of course. But then it is a big car, and it is a, you know, high end and all the rest of it. However, the second-hand market for electric cars, it's clearly got better as the industry has developed, but it's still going to be up against that challenge, isn't it? You know, if you can buy I was looking at Fiat 500s the other day for some interesting reason. I won't bore you with it. And, you know, you can pick up a reasonable one for 5 or 6 grand. I doubt whether I'd get an equivalent EV for that price.
You will do soon, and this is the thing: is price parity. It's getting there all the time. So on many more expensive used electric vehicles, the EV is now at price parity on used with the petrol version. And I think even now, when we're coming to look at at new EVs coming into the market, that price parity is now starting to come through as well. We're seeing some models going on sale where the petrol version is exactly the same price as the electric version on a new car. And of course, as battery technology improves, and as the mass adoption the numbers become greater, so the costs will come down. So we are seeing those costs down, and it's particularly actually prevalent in the used market. But you're right, if you're looking at a good run around 4,000 or 5,000, you can get them, but we're not quite there yet. But give us another 2-3 years, then absolutely we're going to have that coming through.
Good work. Nice to have you on with us, Ginny. We will speak again. Ginny Buckley, motoring journalist. She is the founder of electrifying.com, when you can find out, if you look at that website, a lot about pricing and what you can and what you can't get for your money. There are absolutely lots of areas that just feel, to me, I'm a reasonably experienced person in buying cars. I know a little bit about them. I don't know loads, but it's still, I haven't dipped my toe into these waters yet. Dave's in